Imagine inviting your in-laws over for lunch. You cook a nice beef Wellington, lay the table, pour some wine, make conversation. It all seems innocent. But within days, 3 of them are dead. A fourth needs a liver transplant to survive. You say you didn't mean for it to happen, but the mushrooms in your meal, well, they were some of the deadliest in the world. This is the story of Erin Patterson and the lunch that became one of Australia's most disturbing true crime cases. Is she a grieving cook, caught up in a tragic accident, or a calculating murderer with everything to gain? You're about to find out. Stick around, because this case, it just keeps getting stranger. Leongatha, a peaceful farming town in Victoria, Australia. Population just over 5,000. Not the kind of place you'd expect to be the centre of a criminal investigation. Erin Patterson lived a modest life here. She was a mother, separated from her husband Simon Patterson, but still connected to his family. Despite the divorce, she kept in contact with Simon's parents, Gail and Don Patterson. She was a writer, reportedly working on a novel. By most accounts, Erin was quiet, bookish, and often kept to herself. Neighbours described her as private, even reclusive. She lived in a single-story home on a quiet street, raising her 2 children. In fact, on July 29, 2023, Erin invited Simon's parents to lunch at her home. Alongside them were Simon's aunt and uncle, Heather and Ian Wilkinson. They accepted the invite. No tension, no warning signs. Erin said it was to clear the air and improve strained family relations. On the menu, a homemade beef Wellington, comfort food, something special. But this would be the last meal the 3 of them ever ate. Within 24 hours of the lunch, all 4 guests began showing severe symptoms. It started with abdominal cramps, then vomiting, then relentless diarrhea. At first, they thought it was food poisoning, maybe a bad batch of meat. But within 48 hours, things got worse, much worse. Their livers began to shut down. The symptoms mirrored those seen in rare but deadly mushroom poisonings. Emergency services rushed the 4 to different hospitals. But despite the doctor's best efforts, Gail Patterson died. Then Don, then Heather. Only Ian Wilkinson survived, but not without suffering extensive internal damage. He needed an emergency liver transplant and was in critical condition for weeks. Meanwhile, Erin claimed she also fell ill. But she didn't go to the hospital. She recovered quickly. Too quickly, many thought. She later said she ate a separate portion of the meal. The story wasn't adding up. When police began asking questions, Erin's story changed. At first, she claimed she bought the mushrooms from an Asian grocery store in Melbourne, but police found no receipt, no video footage, no supplier could confirm such a sale. Then she said she used a mix of button mushrooms and dried mushrooms, possibly confusing types. Later, she admitted to lying. She said she was scared, that people would think she was trying to kill her in-laws, that she feared losing custody of her kids. It didn't help that investigators discovered she had discarded a food dehydrator shortly after the lunch. She dumped it at a local transfer station, not just in the trash, but driven out of town to a dump. Police retrieved it. It was sent for forensic analysis. Experts say using a dehydrator can actually increase the concentration of amatoxins, the poison found in death cap mushrooms. If the device was used to dry the mushrooms, it could be damning evidence. But Erin insists she only threw it away because it was old and broken. Police weren't convinced. The Pattersons were respected in their community. Gail had worked as a teacher. Don, a retired engineer, spent his time volunteering. Heather Wilkinson was a kind and patient woman, deeply involved in local charities. Her husband Ian was a well known pastor. They were the kind of people who brought soup to sick neighbours and attended every church fundraiser. They left behind children, grandchildren, and a community that adored them. Their funerals were packed with mourners, people who were struggling to understand how a simple meal could have led to this. Why them? And why would someone who knew them, someone who invited them into her home, serve them something so dangerous? Erin's relationship with her ex husband Simon was anything but smooth. Reports suggest arguments over custody, disagreements about family involvement, and financial stress. Simon and Erin had separated but were still legally entangled. Some friends said Erin felt alienated by Simon's family, who had strong opinions about how the children should be raised. Simon was supposed to attend the lunch that day. At the last minute, he cancelled. If he had come, he may have died too. Was the lunch meant for him? Could this have been a failed attempt to eliminate him and gain full control of the children? It's the theory police are reportedly exploring. Amanita phylloides, the death cap mushroom. It's beautiful, pale greenish white. Looks almost edible, but it's one of the most lethal mushrooms on Earth. Just 30 grams, about the size of a coin, can destroy a liver in hours. The toxin it produces, amatoxin, is heat stable. Cooking doesn't kill it. Drying doesn't weaken it. In fact, drying can concentrate the poison. It starts with nausea, vomiting, and cramping. Then, just as you think you're recovering, your liver begins to fail. Without a transplant, death is almost certain. Experts believe Erin's beef Wellington contained these mushrooms, possibly mixed with regular store-bought types. A forensic analysis of the meal and stomach contents confirmed traces of amatoxins. The finding changed everything. Australia was gripped by the story. True crime podcasts, Reddit forums, news panels, everyone had a theory. Was it a tragic mistake? Did Erin pick the wrong mushrooms while foraging? Or was it murder, with the meal as the murder weapon? People dug into Erin's background. They found her old blog, her short stories. One even featured a character who was slowly poisoned. Coincidence? Armchair detectives debated everything, from the wording of her police statements to the timeline of the lunch. Some saw her as a victim of media hysteria. Others saw a woman trying to cover up an unspeakable act. One thing was clear: public opinion was deeply divided. On November 2nd, 2023, police made their move. Erin Patterson was arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder. The additional charges stem from alleged earlier attempts to poison her ex-husband Simon. Investigators believe this wasn't the first time someone close to Erin had fallen mysteriously ill. Her home was searched, electronic devices were seized, financial records, personal journals, even her cooking utensils were analysed. Erin has maintained her innocence from the beginning. In court, her lawyer stated she loved her family and would never harm them. But prosecutors believe otherwise. They say Erin had motive, means, and opportunity. The trial is set to be one of the most watched in Australian history. The legal process is just beginning. Prosecutors are expected to present forensic evidence, including toxicology, expert testimony, and Erin's own written statements. The defense will argue she was misunderstood, perhaps negligent, but not homicidal. They may argue the mushrooms were bought unknowingly, or that someone else prepared the meal. But in the eyes of many, the fact remains: 3 people are dead, 1 barely survived, and Erin cooked the meal. Whether this was an act of vengeance or a fatal error, the court will decide. In the meantime, a small Australian town mourns, a family is shattered, and the country watches, waiting for justice. So, what do you think? Was Erin Patterson a grieving hostess whose mistake cost lives? Or did she carefully orchestrate one of the most shocking domestic murders in Australian history? Let me know in the comments if you found this story compelling, disturbing, or both. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. New true crime stories drop every week. Until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and always double check what you eat.